Mizzou football has picked up a couple of big-time players over the last decade or so. It started out with Blaine Gabbert, who was a 5-star quarterback, Sheldon Richardson, who was a 5-star defensive tackle, and number one recruit in the country, Dorial Green Beckham. Those three guys alone were a huge deal, but you also had Terry Beckner, the number 2 recruit in the country, and most recently, Luther Burden, a consensus top 5 recruit. But Mizzou's recruiting luck has decided to keep going, as they just landed a historic commit. Some are calling him the best defensive player to come out of the area in nearly 15 years. One site has him listed as the number 1 player in the country, and more importantly, may save Elijah Drinkwitz's job and change the trajectory of the Mizzou program. Today we're going to be talking about the commitment of Nwaneri, a 5-star superhuman who decided to go to Mizzou over Oklahoma and Georgia. We're going to meet who this prodigy player is, talk about his insane recruiting story, the secret tool that Mizzou used to get him, and why this is such a big get for the program. But before we get started, quickly be sure to leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new and love college football content, and let me know what player, team, topic, or recruit I could cover next. Now, let's get started and talk about Nwaneri. When you go to the 24/7 Sports composite and scroll through the top players, you don't have to go very far before you run into Nwaneri. He's ranked 3rd in the country, only behind quarterback Dylan Raiola, who's going to Georgia, and wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, who's headed to Ohio State. I've been hearing about this guy for quite some time now, and his journey to get to the top is pretty insane. So, to give you guys a little bit of a rundown on who he is, he goes to Lee's Summit North High School in Kansas City, and the first year that Nwaneri was actually at the high school, he didn't even play football. The coach ended up approaching him one day in the school cafeteria and asked him what sport he played. Coach was pretty certain that he was probably a basketball player, but instead, Nwaneri said that he actually played football. He didn't end up playing at all as a freshman though, as when he met him, the season was already 75% of the way done. Apparently they were moving from Grandview to Lee's Summit, so he decided to sit out. He still watched every game on live stream, and coach made sure to tell Nwaneri to go out for football in the spring, and that off-season workouts were coming up. Williams said he would be there. Little did he know how good of a player this guy would be, as he quickly climbed up the Lee's Summit North depth chart and became a starter the second half of his sophomore season. He became the first Kansas City recruit to ever be listed as the number 1 player in the country, as according to On3, Nwaneri is the number 1 guy. Over the years, he's been talked about more and more, and has gained more and more big-time offers, and it's for good reason. He's a 6'7", 260-pound defensive end, and last year recorded 56 tackles, 10 TFLs, and 12 sacks. He has a relentless motor, insane athleticism, insane height, and has performed really well at camps. His recruitment has gone back and forth over the last few months, as for a while, many believed that Oklahoma was a sure lock to get him. I mean, the Sooners had already signed Caden Green, who was a high school teammate of his last year, and there was no reason for him not to go there. He had a great relationship with the staff, it was the biggest blue blood in the area, and Oklahoma has had a knack for stealing big-time recruits out of the state. For a while, the Sooners were the team to beat, and then for a little while, it also looked like Georgia was as well. But Mizzou ended up picking up some big-time ground, and just a couple days ago, he announced his commitment to the Tigers over his other Final Four schools of Oregon, Georgia, Tennessee, and Oklahoma.
Lee's Summit North defensive end Nwaneri has made up his mind committing to Missouri.
I feel like it was just, the right spot for me. I feel like ever since they started recruiting me, it's been consistent. I feel like I have some of the best relationships there.
Nwaneri chose the Tigers over Oklahoma, Georgia, and everyone else. He's considered the number 1 prospect in the nation in the class of 24 by On3 Recruiting and 3rd by 24/7 Rival.
24/7 Sports ranks Nwaneri as the 2nd best recruit Mizzou's ever landed, trailing only Dorial Green Beckham. Why did Williams pick the Tigers? He said, quote, "I felt the coaching staff was genuine. I didn't feel they were trying to sell me something, and it felt like it was real relationships." This was honestly a long time coming, as he's been seen as a prodigy for quite some time now, and fun fact, he went to the same high school as Drew Lock. He said, quote, "I'd really say ever since they started recruiting me, I feel like it's been consistent. I have a good relationship with the staff, and I felt it was somewhere I could go and be successful as a student and as an athlete." Nwaneri ended up taking 5 total visits to Mizzou, first dating back in 2021. His most recent was also in late June, and that was the time when many people were indicating he made a silent commit to the Tigers. He said he had great conversations with the staff and wanted to stay home. He's going to be a hometown hero for the Mizzou Tigers, and that was a huge deal to him. This isn't the first home state hero the Tigers have signed recently, as most recently they signed Luther Burden in the class of 2022, and while he is from East St. Louis, it's pretty much the state. They also had guys such as Dorial Green Beckham, Terry Beckner Jr., Sheldon Richardson, and Blaine Gabbert. It may not even be over either, as 5-star wide receiver Ryan Wingo is also heavily considering the Tigers. He plays over in St. Louis and is currently the number 8 player in the class of 2024. He's a super athlete and a super receiver, and if Wingo ends up joining Williams and Mizzou, It could be the first time in program history that the Tigers have landed 2 5-star prospects. The commitment isn't as crazy as some may think, as Mizzou actually has a big-time history of producing linemen, as they've had guys such as Shane Ray, Justin Smith, Alden Smith, Charles Harris, Marcus Golden, and even Michael Sam. They've also done a tremendous job on the defensive side of the ball recently, as last year they tied with Alabama for 2nd in the SEC in sacks and 4th in total defense. They had a major improvement, as their defensive coordinator is one of the top young coaches in the country. In terms of recruiting, Mizzou's had a very interesting couple of years. They had the 11th ranked class in 2022, were 37th last year, and right now sit in the mid-50s. At an eye's glance, it may seem that Drinkwitz is losing his recruiting momentum, and while that may be true, it could all change if he lands Ryan Wingo. Both Winery and 4-star wide receiver James Madison have been recruiting heavily for the Tigers, and if Wingo goes there, they can make a good pledge. There's also another factor as to why all this could be happening. The state of Missouri is taking a genius approach to NIL. Under Missouri's new NIL law, a player is eligible to make money as soon as September 1st from NIL. If he has signed a form of written agreement with Mizzou, he'd meet the criteria to be able to make NIL money as a high school senior. That's because if a player is committed to a college inside the state, they can do that right away. That has to be a big factor for Williams, is that not only does he get to play in the SEC, but he gets to stay home, and now he gets to start making money before he even gets there. This is an absolutely monster get from Mizzou, and as a Mizzou fan myself, I was starting to really worry about Drinkwitz's recruiting momentum. This is truly a make or break season for them, and right now they have one of the top defenses in the country, but the big question will be on the offensive side of the ball. Will they be able to figure it out? I don't know, but Williams is a giant get both literally and figuratively. His high school coach said, quote, "When you see him in pads, he looks like a pro. When he's hitting on all cylinders and playing fast and hard, you can't block him, and he's not a high school kid." That's the quote I'll leave you with, as this is the 2nd biggest recruit in school history, and someone that could change the momentum of the entire program. Joining Nwaneri is currently a couple of other blue chip players, as you have Cameron Keys from Florida, who was a 4-star recruit and a top 226 player in the country. Then you also have James Madison, who's a 4-star wide receiver from St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida, and 4-star athlete Brian Huff. Drinkwitz hasn't been able to win the big games yet, or have the best seasons, but recruiting can buy time, and right now that's what Drinkwitz needs. So this is huge, and this NIL law in the state could really change the game for the Tigers. But what do you guys think? If you're a Mizzou fan, what do you think of the commitment? Who's another recruit I can take a look at next? And also, what topic should I do next? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.